6 a.m. in New York City. Everyone's just getting their day started. People are on their way to their super duper important jobs where they feel just so ultra important. They stop in for a quick coffee at McDonald's. Yes, believe it or not everyone in New York City is a coffee snob and only get their coffee from Starbucks. Granted, that's what I am. I'm a snob. I only drink Starbucks. But there are people who have McDonald's, and I don't understand how they can drink that filth. But after they get their coffee, they head down to the subway when suddenly another motherfucking shooting in America, which is very often covered by the news media, and rightfully so. But then they have on these analysts, if you want to call them that. I mean, if Anita Sarkeesian can be considered an analyst who speaks at the UN, I guess the bar on that title is pretty damn low. So anyways, they come on the news and they have these magic solutions to gun violence in America. They're given 10 seconds to solve this huge, gigantic, complex issue. But hey, that's the news business for you. But despite the little amount of time they have, the concepts themselves are very often incredibly flawed. Their solutions are flawed simply because their idea of the cause is something ridiculous, like violent video games. The person might want to ban all guns or just reduce magazine size. I've even heard someone say that all guns should be single shot without magazines at all. But, most of the solutions put out there are complete and utter bullshit in either correlation or just not practical at all. So I'm here to break down their arguments and present some of my own. Starting with the most over-the-top solution. Let's just ban all guns. Yeah, who needs them, man? We got peace. Well, that just isn't going to happen. As of 2013, there are 357 million guns in America, when we only had 317 million people. So from the collection to disposal, etc., it would cost an absurd amount of money and manpower. You probably get a large number of them back, but the people who are just going to hand them back aren't exactly a problem. Tracking down all those guns would take so much time. I mean, there will be people who lie about having them, and you can't exactly just go breaking in their house without a warrant, so you'd have to do all the court shit for that. But, this reminds me, though, of that South Park episode where Jimbo was trying to bring illegal fireworks from Mexico, and they asked him at the border, do you have any illegal fireworks? And he goes, yes. No, damn it. People aren't going to be that dumb. They'll just say, no, I don't have any firearms. No. People can very easily lie if it's in their house. There are a large number of people in America that are very attached to their guns, and they're not going to just give them up. It's not going to work. Trying to forcefully take it away from them could lead to a civil war, if anything, which would do so much more damage than what we have right now. So what about banning large capacity magazines? Okay, well, what is that really going to do? The majority of the people aren't killed by assault weapons. It's traditionally with pistols because they're easier to conceal. And, if you're trying to conceal it, you're not going to exactly have a giant magazine on you. It's just not really what you're going to do. But people are conditioned to seeing these big, drawn-out gun battles in movies. But in real life, they're typically pretty quick. It's like pop, 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 done. Yes, everyone wants to talk about the Adam Lanzas and the James Holmes of the world, but those are extreme circumstances. Your chances of dying by mass shooting like that are not very likely. You're more likely to die just driving to the school or movie theater than getting shot in the place like that, These are freak occurrences, which is why it gets the news coverage that it does. But let's appease the people who still think, well, maybe less people would be killed if they had less bullets in the gun. Okay, well, in theory, that sounds good, but what's stopping these people from modifying the guns themselves? It took me less than a minute to look up how to adapt a 10-round magazine into a 32-round one. I didn't have to look hard. And, I wasn't even doing this myself. I just did the research for this video. But what's stopping them from going out there and doing that? But, okay, you still think it's good there is a break where they have to reload. All right, well, look at this video. It takes this trained guy less than half a second to reload his magazine. If someone really wants to, they can easily practice reloading and get pretty damn quick at it. That would pretty much negate the effectiveness of the magazine size. But this is much like security at the airport. It's a feel better law just to make people inconvenienced and essentially doing nothing to solve the problem. Just make a certain number of people feel better. That's what I really think is the problem. We shouldn't pass laws to make people feel better. We should pass laws to actually solve the problems. I don't think that's a really foreign concept, but apparently it really is, because no one here seems to understand that. Okay, so other solutions. Let's make gun-free zones. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but are you sensing a pattern here? It's another feel-good law. It's not going to do anything. A guy is not going to show up, see the sign that says no gun zone, and be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I better not shoot in here. No, they're going to either keep it concealed and shoot someone when they get mad at them, or in some cases just go in and do a mass shooting. I'm not saying that everyone having guns is going to be a perfect solution, but if someone wants to go on a mass shooting rampage, they're going to typically go where they don't think someone else is going to shoot back. Them not knowing if someone has a gun is a plus, because it will, if anything, be a distraction for them. But the other side of this is someone would say, can you imagine 100 people just shooting back and stuff, and the number of like bystanders and victims? Yeah, I mean, that's the possibility. It does depend on the scenario. You know, in some circumstances, it would be beneficial for another person to have a gun. Like if they were taking hostages and the guy turns his back and another person pulls a gun and holds him up, you know, it just depends on the scenario. Then there's that other group of idiots that say, oh, it's all violent video games' fault. You know, there have been numerous studies that have shown that since the invention of video games, the number of violent crime has decreased. This doesn't necessarily indicate a correlation, but if anything, it can be shown that having an increase in violent video games hasn't caused the number of violent crimes to go up. So calling them murder simulators is fucking silly. And quite frankly, it's been debunked for so many years that I don't even feel like I need to cover it that much, because you can just go look at how ridiculous it is. But there's still idiots who believe it, so, you know, I kind of had to mention it here. You know, there are tons of solutions offered out there, but quite frankly, covering them all would make this video hours long, so I'll just get into what I would do to help the problem. It goes without saying that the other common link to gun murders is the people. Blaming the gun is like blaming your fork because you're fat. Just like I don't think it's right to ban large soda cups, I don't think you should just ban guns, because that is not treating the root of the problem. We have to look at how they're doing the killing and how they're getting a hold of the guns. Oftentimes it's because it was their dad's gun or something along those lines. So I think it would help if everyone was required to have a gun safe, which, believe it or not, is not required to buy a gun. It's typically required to transport it in a car, but you could have it at home just sitting on the kitchen table. This would reduce the number of accidental deaths or injuries by family members. It would also stop people who can't buy guns from using them in a crime. That would save so many more lives than reducing magazine sizes. I also think having a national licensing system is something that's beneficial, because each state has their own little system and it's not consistent with one another. I would also make it so that people who are going for these licenses were required to take a safety class, so they at least know basic handling of it, so that it would reduce a lot of accidental deaths. Another thing that would certainly help is improving the mental health field, which would do a lot to save lives. It would help diagnose those with tendencies to be violent and prevent them from buying guns in some cases. Granted, they could still go to the black market, and with the number of guns out there, it wouldn't be too hard for them to obtain a gun, but they can always put restrictions on using guns at shooting ranges that aren't registered to your license, having to check them every time you visit a range. It would stop guns that aren't supposed to be there from being used in practice. But the most important thing to do would be to help get people a good education and improve the economy. People turn to crime when they're unable to get money for what they need. Helping people get on their feet and being self-dependent is the best you can really do. Increasing the minimum wage will make people less likely to go out and hold up a convenience store because they have more money for their family. There's a reason why places like Detroit, where they have little money, also have very high crime rates. And if you would like to keep me out of poverty and not out there robbing those convenience stores, you know what you can do to help. Share this video everywhere. Give it a like. If you disagree with me or my arguments, feel free to leave a comment and I will engage with you and I will debate it with you. If you like my videos, you, of course, can always subscribe to see all my videos. If you like The Walking Dead, you can check out this video, or if you want to see a parody of Anita Sarkeesian, you can just check out this one over here.